Hey everyone, I have a special episode. It's a one-on-one with a young trader named Richard who knows what he needs to trade, but he keeps getting in his own way. And I know a lot of us can relate to this, so stay tuned and enjoy.
I get so frustrated. And I think the purpose of this call too is like, have you ever dealt with that? And what have you done? Like, what have you found that helps you stop from becoming so FOMO that you're tilted? So it's actually, I think what I want to focus on is more the emotional side.
Okay.
I've seen so many of your videos and I've seen so many interviews, and I think time and time again, that's kind of what is a common theme. And I almost feel like it's the harder part for people to conquer. Like they can find their edge and they can find their trading style, but it's always them. And so kind of like slight background is I mainly trade weekly options,
Okay.
but I'm in and out within a day, but I'm not quite scalping like Matt Diamond is.
Okay.
His videos have been extremely helpful. My brother-in-law was actually the one that got me into options, and he watched a lot of Matt Diamond. But like when I found my style of trading, I still get in and out within a day, but I like to kind of let the options ride, like reading the charts, let it breathe. And the biggest thing I have trouble with is profit taking.
Hmm.
I like everywhere I read, every forum, and every day trader that I talk to, they talk about planning your losses and planning your profits. I get the losses part. Like that
Yes.
part, I think is mechanical. It's easy. I get it now. But how does someone, or how in your experience, have you figured out how to plan what amount to profit take?
Okay.
Because I quickly see 20% profit, and then next thing you know, it's like negative 20%, and then I get stopped out.
Okay. So first off, I can tell you that I don't trade options. So,
Yep.
but I can still talk to you about, because trading is trading is trading.
Right.
Like the full philosophy, how you trade. Me and Matt, we talk a lot, and we don't trade anywhere near the same, but the same ideas apply.
Right.
So how I go about it, I'll just show you one way that I go about it, and then if you have questions, there's multiple ways. But
Mm-hmm.
how I go about it is, first off, you always need to know where you're going to be wrong, right? So that's my 1R. Like I don't want to lose more than 1R. So if 1R is $1,000, $100, $50, 10, it doesn't matter. But I don't want to lose more than 1R, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find my entry based off what I want to lose and where I want to risk. From there, if I'm longing, I'm immediately looking at key resistance areas. Okay.
Yeah.
This is before I even press buy. Okay. This is before I get in the trade, because I need to make sure that there's enough meat on the move for me to at least make a good risk reward trade. Right. Because I can have a good setup, but poor risk reward, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, because we don't really ever execute 100% perfect where we're nail the bottom and nail the top. Like it just doesn't happen. So
Definitely.
I look at all the resistance levels, and I'm like, okay, maybe this resistance 30 cents away from my entry if I do enter. So I get 10 cents risk. Okay, cool. There's at least 3-1 right there. Mm-hmm. And then I'll say, you know what? But big picture, because I'm not just trading just because intraday. Big picture, it looks like it's a breakout and it's pretty strong. So I'll take off maybe a half at 3-1, or maybe I'll take off a third at 3-1. It depends on what I'm looking at, because every trade's unique, right? Some trades, you might have little micro resistance along the way, right? And so if that happens, I won't take profits at 1-1. I just don't. But I'll at least take some at 2-1. I'll take a third off. I'll take, you know what? I'm going to take a third off at 2-1, because there's like little resistance areas near the key resistance. Right. So I'll take some off, and then at the main area, I'll take almost all of it off, and then I always like to hold a small piece just in case it moves and just breaks through. Because if it does, at that moment, I'm not going to take it off until it breaks trend.
Right.
So that means I have to be willing to give back the entire, like, let me give you an example. Today, I longed the stock today, and I took almost all of it off. I had 10% of my shares left, and it came all the way back because it just went straight up. So it was a great entry, great risk reward. I took almost all of it off. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to wait for a pullback. And instead of it pulling back and consolidate, it just came all the way back. So I was like, okay, cool. No big deal. I'll just cut it at my original risk point because I'm not going to adjust my risk personally just because I don't want to give back something, because then there's too many times in trading where that just doesn't work out.
Yeah. Actually, so quickly, what do you trade now? Is it small, or have you gotten into big caps, or
both? So I day trade small caps and big caps. Like today, one of my day trades was space, SPC, and I swing trade too, but we're talking about day trading. So
gotcha.
Swing trading, all I do is long. Sometimes I short, like I shorted the market sometimes, but day trading, short and long. And today was all longs. So some days it's all short, some days it's mixed. I'm not biased. I try not to be. But that's one way to take profits. The another way is also like, let's say there's no resistance at all, right? Let's just say like, oh my God, this is a beautiful chart. There's no resistance until like 5R.
Right.
I'm going to take some profits. I am. I'm not going to hold to all the way to 5R because the odds, it's just the higher it goes, the odds start to skew against you, right? So what I'm going to do is I have a rule with them, like at 2R, I'm going to take some. I'll probably take the biggest I'll take is a third. That's the biggest I'll take. But more than likely, I'll take a quarter.
Gotcha.
And then I'll let the rest ride until 3R, because 3R is a magic number. Like if I have 3-to-1 risk to reward more times than not, I can have a 25% win rate or 30 and still be fine. Right. So I'll take some off at 3-to-1, but if I know there isn't no resistance, I'll take only like a third again, and then save the half of the full position for the 5R or 6R. Gotcha. So that's how I'll play it. So at the end of the day, it's always at key areas. Unless there's no area, then I'm going to take some at like 3R, because to me, it just makes sense, but you don't have to. That's just how I would do it.
So you always think in terms of R's and not in terms of percentages.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like if I'm risking 10 cents, I need to make 30 cents. If I'm risking $1, I need to make $3. Like that's my goal. Does it always happen? No. Like, because sometimes you'll take profits. Let's say you use my system, right? And I'm taking a quarter at 2R. Okay. So now, and then I take, let's just make it simple numbers, just simple numbers. If I have 1,000 shares, I take 250 shares off at 2R. Then I have 750 shares left. When it pops up to 3R, I might take 600 shares off right there. And then let my 150 just ride. And maybe it comes all the way back down. I take it off. Oh, well, or maybe it continues. And that extra amount of shares can really help you. Like if you let it ride, it can really like give you another 2-3R. Like it's crazy, especially when you catch a mover, So like, that's how I would play it.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think something that's helped is I've been sizing down.
Man.
And I think I need to size down a little bit more. So could I give you a situation that happened last Friday?
Fine. Yeah.
So what surprised me was what happened last Friday wasn't even a losing trade. It was just the opportunity that was missed that tilted me all the way into this week. So Tesla has been very good to me. One of my best for options. But sometimes it's just been so volatile lately. It hit an area of resistance and I just cut all my contracts for 5%. I always thought of percentages. Okay. And last Friday was when Tesla had a unicorn day, I think if I stayed in, it would have been like 30R. So that's just like insane. And I get so frustrated. I think the purpose of this call too is like, have you ever dealt with that? And what have you done? Like, what have you found that helps you stop from becoming so FOMO that you're tilted? And I found that it's almost easy to take my frustration out on people around me, which is definitely something I don't want to do. So curious on your input on that.
So I've been there and I get there today, like it'll happen. So I do a couple of things. Number one, like I used to take it out on other people around me all the time because I'd be frustrated, right? And that wasn't good for my relationship at all. So I meditate. I talk about this all the time, but I meditate religiously, bro. Like religiously every day, Monday through Friday. Saturday, Sundays, like I do it sometimes, but Monday through Friday religiously. And
did you get started because of day trading, or did you always do that?
So I started meditating right near the end of so I left my job 3 times, as if you know, at the first, right before I was leaving the first time, right. I started meditating near the tail end of my career because I was in sales. I trained people. I was traveling. It's just a stressful job. So I started meditating then, and then I dropped it for like a year. And then I picked it back up because of trading. And it helps a ton, man. So I meditate before I trade, right? And over time, like I'm going to give you multiple answers, but over time, like when I start to meditate, you start to be able to kind of step aside and recognize that you're starting to get upset, or that you start to be able to, instead of being in the moment of like being frustrated, you're like kind of seeing like, I'm getting frustrated right now, you know, and it's different. So like, it doesn't mean you can immediately turn it off. Not at all. It just means you have a little space in between to make a decision, right? Do you always make the good decision? No, but you at least have that space to make a decision. Do I want to tilt, or do I want to go do something else? And so the next thing that I do is, this is new, by the way, is my wife is like, why don't you, like, if you take a loss that bothers you or miss something that bothers you, it could be anything. Why don't you just take a 5-minute breather and meditate, or go for a walk, or take the dog out? And so that's what I do now. Like if I take a loss that I'm like, for some reason, like not happy with, and it's only because of ego, is because then I need to like at least just turn around, go to my chair right here and just meditate for 5 minutes, and then come back. Because when I do that, it at least gives me more space. And then I come back and I feel a lot more relaxed. I'm not chasing. I'm not making a revenge trade. I might jump right back in, like a lot of things. I also have a max loss, right? Like, I don't know if your broker lets you do this. Some people do, some people don't. But I have a max loss where if I hit a max loss of, for me, it's 5R. If I lose more than 5R in a day, I'm done. Like there's only 2 reasons I'm losing 5R. Number one, I'm being a jackass, you know, like I'm just being irate, upset, ego. Or number 2, I literally don't know what the hell I'm doing today. You know, like it's just bad luck, or I'm just, it's more times than not, it's me. It's rare that it's my set. Like I almost want to say it never happens, that it's my setups. It's always me, you know? So that max loss is to protect me, just in case I don't give a shit that I recognize I'm upset, and then keep going, you know, because I don't want to blow up. You know, I don't want to do anything that's going to destroy me. So 5R, if I lose 5R, and if my average trade is like 2.5, 3R, I'm gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. Now, the other thing that I do is, whenever I take a loss, I'm writing down, first off, while I'm in the trade, I'm writing down in my emotions section of my journal. I have an emotion section, how I'm feeling. And and I update that, dude. Like I timestamp that. Like I'll timestamp it at the open, like whenever I enter the trade, and then in maybe 2 hours go by, I'll timestamp it again. Now I'm feeling like this, and I'll put why. Like I'm feeling anxious because I don't want to give back profits. I'm feeling upset because the other trade didn't work, and now I'm scared this one might not work. And when I do that, it kind of lets me see it on paper, right? And so I can kind of get further away from it and make a real decision and be like, you know what? I need to trade my plan, not my emotions, right? So that kind of helps me with that. And that's pretty much, does that answer your question?
No, it does. I think that max loss, I didn't realize, like, so what is it? Does the broker just shut you out, or?
Yeah. So my broker, every broker is different. Some brokers will shut you out and close your positions. Like if you have any open positions, they'll close them. My broker just is they won't close my open positions, but once I hit, let's say 5R, I can't open new positions.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then, but some brokers, like they'll do that for you, but then you could just call and change it, you know, cause it's your account. So you got to have discipline, you know, but it's like you got to consciously make that extra step. Like, okay, let me call them. Let me tell them the next, and like, you know, it gives you a little barrier to prevent yourself from blowing up. Yeah. And then on top of that, if you can't do any of those, then you just need to write that down, put a sticky note, in front of you and just be like, when I hit 3R, 5, and don't take 5R from me because everyone's different. Like, here's the other thing. If 5R for you is $5,000, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy, right? Like maybe it's crazy for you. I don't want to lose $5,000, but what if 5R for you is $50? And you're like, that's not a big deal to me. So if you're trading really small, it's very advantageous to get consistent. And so you need to say, what number can I not stand losing, but still be 100% fine? And let's say it's $100. Let's say we're talking to someone who has a small account, right?
Yep.
And they have $5,000, right? But let's just say instead of them risking, we got, what is it, 1% of that? What is that, $50 per trade, which to me is dumb. I think because you're not a trader, you don't know what you're doing. So instead, risk $10 or $10 per trade, and then when you hit $50, you're done for the day. You know what I'm saying? So that way you can get enough batting practice to see what you're good at and see what you suck at, and then not be upset and continue to pull the trigger. Because what you don't want to do is what you did on Friday. It happens to everyone. Okay. I just talked to a buddy today, actually, where it happened to him today. He doubled it. He risked 2R on a position instead of 1R. Because he's like, this was it wasn't a good setup, but he was thinking he just missed a couple of trades. And so he went to make up, right?
Yeah.
And instead he entered a position with 2R risk and cut it for a gain, but like real small gain. And then it worked amazingly. And he's like, oh my God, it would have been a huge trade for me. and here's the thing, like, it's taken me, I'm still learning this every day. Like I'm constantly learning this. The only thing that separates me from someone else or from me from a better trader, like, is just how far we can separate our emotions from trading and executing. And so like for me, I still I still deal with challenges too, but knock on wood, like I've just gotten really good at like not doing what I used to. Like I used to revenge trade all the time. I used to double my size. I used to do everything I tell people not to do. It's because I used to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I've made all these rules to stop me from doing these things. And the thing is, like, well, you will never catch you'll never be happy if you focus on results. If you're always judging yourself on how much you made, whether it's money or R, and you judge yourself on being a good day because you're up 1R, 3R, 8R, or because you took advantage of a stock and took 10R from it, right? Yeah. And it stopped at 10R, right? And you're like, oh my God, if that's the only time you're happy, you're never going to be happy, because there's so many trades that you're going to take that you're going to trade very well, and you may make 1R, but you traded it perfect. And maybe you traded it perfect and made 2R, but it went up to 10R. But if you're always upset, you're never going to be happy. And then when you lose, you're not happy. So when are you going to be happy? I left my job because I wasn't happy, right? Yeah. Yeah. I'm trading because it's something I love. And I don't want to make something I love something I just hate and dreadful to come to every morning, right? I want to enjoy it. And how I start to do that is focus on, I always say this, process, and judge myself on a couple of things. Did I trade my setup? Period. Like that's the only question I answer first. Did I trade my setup? If the answer is no, then I have a right to be upset with myself because I didn't trade my setup. And the second one is, did I stick to the plan that I put out? If the answer is yes, then I'm freaking happy on the day. I don't care if I'm up 1R. I don't care if I'm down 1R. I am much happier when I answer those two questions first. Like much happier.
I think that's actually huge. I feel like a lot of this is things that I've heard over, but it's so helpful to hear it kind of like direct talking.
Yeah, I feel you.
Oh man, sharing some background too. I actually left my job. It was a little bit stressful. I was in a space called transaction advisory, and it's been blowing up right now because of everyone during COVID kind of held off on acquiring other companies. And now that everything's kind of getting back to normal, it's like the full swing of things. And the industry itself, called transaction advisory, it almost doesn't have enough workers, but so much demand. So there's been a high attrition rate. And so I was one of those. And I left knowing I wanted to day trade. And it's been great, like in terms of wanting to do it, motivation to do it.
Yep.
But definitely the learning process has been so hard. I remember there was a Friday that I had off probably in May, and I was day trading at that time, Tesla options. And looking back, I purely just got lucky and I was risking way too much. But in one trade, I made $10,000 and I was like, this is easy. Like I can do this. Like that's a big percentage of my salary. So why am I working till like 2 and working on weekends when I can just do this?
Yeah.
But I think to your point, now is I've found my setups, I've found my plans.
Good.
But it's been hard to stick to them because of the emotion. And I get it now. But going back to, so max loss, I have one.
Okay.
I've had trouble sticking with it because there's no kind of force way for me to stop. I get back into revenge trading, which has been bad.
Let me ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
Your max loss number, you don't need to tell it to me, but your max loss number, is it a number that when you hit it, you were like completely irate, frustrated, and just hate it? Or is it a number that when you hit it, it's okay? You're just like, don't want to go. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's the thing. A lot of people, like, you don't want to make your max loss number the number that you're freaking livid. Because if you make it that number, then it's going to be really hard to stick to it. You want to make it the number before that happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So my max loss would be 3R. Okay. And it doesn't make me upset at all. Actually, it's fine. Yeah. But what's happened, especially during this week on Monday, when I realized I was still tilted even over the whole weekend. Yep. I hit 9R. So
negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's triple your
that's
max
triple
loss.
My max loss. So that's the thing that's rough.
Yeah. You got to. Yeah. You need to have, when you hit, you need to have like a notepad next to you, and you should have you need to have a way to, when you hit max loss, like that, to step away. You need something to step away, right? Yeah. Like, for example, well, first off, is your max loss hit after 3 losses in a trade?
No.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. I was just say, like, because sometimes it depends on your win rate, right? Like if you're like a killer trader, which it's rare to find those who like nail it every time, which is super almost impossible. But if you are that trader, then maybe 3 losses and you're out is good. But most traders, sometimes you're going to take a couple losses or 2 losses and then 2 wins, but you don't want to like get yourself out of the game too soon. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad you already answered my question. But you need to come up with a system whenever you hit max loss, like you either like DM me, you know, or DM someone, be like, yo, I'm taking a break for the rest of the day, and then dip. You know, like you need to do something. Or if you're married, if you have a girlfriend, someone at the house, be like, hey, I'm just gonna let you know, if I ever hit what I call, whatever you want to call it to them, max loss, then I want to come to you and let you know I did that, to kind of be held accountable. Because unless your broker lets you do what I do, max loss and stop, you need something. Because if you don't, then you don't have a max loss. You don't. You're just trading your emotions, and that's the quickest way out of the door. You know, like that's the quickest way out, man. And if you know it works for you, then when you hit your max loss in 3 times, I'm guaranteed you're not trading what works for you. You're not like it's impossible, because if you were trading what works for you, you wouldn't hit it that many times. You know what I'm saying?
I was purely just revenge trading and not even trading my setup.
Yep. I do it too, though. It happens. But the max loss is there to protect you from that.
Exactly.
Like that's what you need to remember. Like your max loss is to stop you from destroying yourself. Right. Yep. And maybe write down like a sticky note, like max loss to prevent 9R days, you know, like, so to remind you, because like this emotion you felt on that day you lost, you probably still feel it. Like it's something that should stay with you, and you should write that down. So that way it reminds you like, hey, like I hit max loss, I don't want a 9R, like I'm done. Yeah. Because it's harder to come back from that than it is from 3R.
Right. So one thing I have been starting is like, I'm used to taking notes. I've been like journaling that. I think I'm going to make it a little bit more organized in terms of, wait, was that the exact same one? No.
I got bullet journals. I like bullet journals with the little bullets where you can like draw your own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay, but that's helpful. I think so. The first video I ever saw from you was the one where you had your wife on. And
oh, really?
Kind of go, yeah, that was actually, it was recommended on YouTube. And
oh, wow, cool.
I was driving with my wife and I was like, oh, okay, this is perfect. And so that one was what got me onto your show and has been extremely helpful ever since. I think I need to find someone else besides my wife from being the person that I tell my max loss. Cause I think the one thing I'm having trouble with is because it's shared money, right?
Yeah.
I almost feel ashamed every time I have to tell her I hit a loss. And even though like I tell her everything, that's still not a great thing to do.
Yeah.
To have that type of feeling.
Do you, does she understand? It's so hard to explain this to anyone who doesn't trade. Okay.
Yeah.
It's even hard for me to explain to even to this day. Like I told her on Monday, I was like, man, I'm kind of upset because oh no, she goes, how did you do? I think it was Monday. Today is Thursday. Yeah, Monday. She's like, how'd you do? I was like, I traded okay. I was like, but it was a red day for me. And she was like, but it was a red day. I was like, so I had to re-explain to her. Right. And she knows, she's like, oh yeah. I'm sorry. It's like, but it's hard to explain to someone like a red day's fine if you trade it your way, you know?
Right.
So yeah, you might want to find another trader where you can talk with them. But here's the thing, you got to be careful with only one thing. For me, maybe it's not for you, but for me, I can't talk to someone while I'm trading because sometimes I can get influenced by them.
Yeah, no, exactly the same way.
So I would recommend talking to them after the trading day or before the open, or hey man, I'm going to hit you up if I hit max loss. Like if it's in the middle of the day, then you have just to tell them, be like, hey, I'm logging off, and that's it. Like something like that. But yeah, like if you're going to do your wife, like you got to make sure you thoroughly explain like how trading works,
right,
and how it makes you feel. Like I tell her, like the more open I am with her, like, hey man, like it sucks. Like it doesn't feel good to lose, period.
Yeah.
And so it'd be helpful, like if I tell you, like I traded well, but it was still red, that you can understand and be like, hey, I'm proud of you. And those discussions help me. Like she asks me those questions now. She's like, hey, did you stick to your plan? I'm like, yes. She's like, well, good job. Like that conversation is more helpful than, hey, how much did you make today? You know, like that's just not a help. That's not a very, I don't think that's healthy for anyone, no matter how big of a trader you are. Like eventually that's going to bite you in the ass. You know what I'm saying? Like that can't be good.
I agree. So one question I had for you though, actually was, there's so many Discords out there, right? And so many groups. Is there one that you would recommend that you feel like has a supportive group, or like you can talk about these things too?
So I'm not active in any group at all. Let me get back to you on that. Let me see if I can get someone that is part of groups and ask them. And so that way I can push you in the right direction. But for me, I don't actually go with any groups, so I don't want to push you in the wrong direction. Right.
Right.
But I think what I would recommend, man, is just, I mean, feel free. I mean, maybe I won't reply. I mean, I get a lot of DMs, right? But maybe I won't reply right away.
Yeah.
Like, feel free to like DM me, like, yo, man, like people who talk to me like this, I'm going to remember you. So like if you DM me after this call and be like, hey man, good talk. So that way I can associate who your social tag is with who you are.
Right.
And then you just message me out of the blue and say, man, it was a rough day today. I may not get back to you right away, but I will get back to you and be like, yo, man, like, I get it. Like, you know, and I'll start asking questions like, did you stick to your plan? Did you do this? Because that's what's important. Like, and you need a checklist. So have a checklist, because that's what I do. I have a checklist of like, okay, did I stick to my plan? Check. Did I do this? Check. And then maybe have something called max. And like, you got to circle that when you hit max loss. So when you circle it, and then maybe you have an arrow that points to when you circle, it means walk outside, you know, like something like that, because you got to have an action. So that way you can do and get up and get out of your computer, because if you sit there, you're going to trade.
I like that. I have a set of rules, but I don't have a checklist. And I feel like the checklist is almost more proactive than the
Mhm.
rules itself. And yeah, I'll probably just DM you. What I'm
Yeah, it's
looking for
fun.
is purely for, a group that isn't necessarily doing calls. It's just purely the support group.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
feel you. Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. I will. I promise you, I'm gonna point you in the right direction. Once I get,
yeah.
I'm not gonna leave you hanging.
Something that I also want, if you don't mind, is I've been thinking about meditating for a long time.
Headspace.
Uh, Headspace, that's what you
Yeah,
use?
yeah. Religiously, Headspace, especially for beginners. Oh, guaranteed. It's the
I'll have to
best.
check it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the best. It's like I think it's like I don't know how much I pay for it. It's cheap, like per
Yeah.
month. You can pay for the year, but it's the best. It's
Okay.
the best because it's guided meditation. And if you're advanced, you don't have to do guided. But when
Yep.
you're new, you better do guided so that way you can learn. Because meditation, people think, well, when I close my eyes and meditate, I'm gonna be thinking about everything I have to do. That's fine. That's part of meditation. Like you want
Mhm.
to start to see how much shit you're thinking about. And then eventually you'll start to learn how to like separate and learn how to just let it go and learn, but it just takes time. So just do it every day
Yeah.
and start with like 5 minutes, bro. Like Headspace has that option, like only do 5 minute meditations, and you can select that, and you only do 5 minutes, and then over time increase to 10, and then 15, and then maybe 20. Like 15 is a good number anyway, but like
Right.
5 is good to start.
Hmm. Okay. I think that's
Do
helpful
it
because I
before
feel
you
like
trade. Before you trade.
before I trade in the mornings,
Oh yeah.
I think a whole part of this entire journey is having the discipline inside and outside
Yes, dude.
of the trade. And I
Dude,
think the mind and the body is so important to this. So
trading will teach you so much about yourself. It's crazy, and it shows you all of your weaknesses.
yeah.
Like you might be good in the workforce, and you might think you're disciplined. Like I think I'm. I thought I was disciplined because I worked out every day. I drink
Yep.
water like crazy. I work my ass off when I had a job. Like I'm
Yep.
disciplined. But then when I got to trading, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. When no one's looking, I guess I'm not that disciplined. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like if I
Yeah.
don't have a body to show, like I'm going to the gym every day, I see someone every day, but if I'm at my computer, no one's here. How disciplined am I really? And that's when you start to really get to face who you are. It's crazy.
It's fascinating that you say that because I hung on to something earlier that you said. I've been starting to read this book. It's old. It's called I think Trading in the Zone. I forgot who
Oh,
it's by, but like the beginning of that book is all about how studies kind of have shown that how we grow up in this world does almost makes us not good traders because we
yep,
like, oh, what you were saying, always judging ourselves by the results.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. Like some of these things have helped us in life, right? Like mine, I talk about this in a recent episode. It was really tough for me to talk about it, but it was like comparing myself constantly. I was always
Mm.
comparing myself. And that helped me a lot, like in the corporate world, because I'd be
Yep.
like, who the fuck is this guy? He's doing better than me. I need to do what he's doing or do
Hmm.
more and beat him. And that helped me. And like it made me
Yeah.
get better. But in trading, it's like it's the worst thing to do.
Yep.
Like for me, it is. And so you just gotta. Some of these things have helped us, but sometimes you just gotta realize, like, yo, like for trading, it's not that way. And Mark Douglas is the author of Trading in
Mm.
the Zone. He died. Rest in peace, Mark Douglas.
Oh,
I
wow.
love that dude. And check him out on YouTube. I mean, he doesn't have a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
but some people, I don't know if they did it legally or not, but they post like some private content that Mark Douglas has done that you had to
Hmm.
pay for back in the day, where he
Oh,
would like
wow.
speak in front of people. And dude, his stuff is gold. The audio obviously is not it's a back in the day, like way back, but it's gold content to listen to. So
Got
make
it.
sure to check it out. He talks all about up here, all
Okay.
about up here. So it's super important.
Have you ever met a trader from all your conversations that was able to be successful and not be able to control their emotions? That's no
That's
way,
a good
right?
question. I I mean, sure they get upset, but
Yeah.
no, like they don't. I feel like that's never. The answer is no. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I talked to, like one of the things that stood out to me is they're all great losers.
Hmm.
They're just really good at losing. It doesn't bother them. Like, of course, it's not fun, but it doesn't bother them like it would you or me sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't bother them. And I just, all right, next trade. Let's keep going. And that's something that takes discipline, really. It takes discipline to like get used to, you know, taking only your setups, having a proper risk reward. Yeah. Making sure that you don't get upset. You know, like all that stuff.
My brother-in-law calls it you got to trade like a machine. And that's what I was thinking about when you were saying it there.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have emotions. It's always going to be there. But you can't get rid of them. Like I still get upset. Like today, that's why I type it out. But I've gotten so much better at recognizing it and not making decisions off of it. That's what, and so like all the other traders, they get upset. They get nervous every day, guaranteed. So to answer your question, they always get nervous or get upset, but they don't act on it. That's the difference. Like instead they acknowledge it and they're like, okay, but I still got to trade my system. And then they trade their system.
Yeah. And so I know everyone kind of plans differently, but something that always stuck with me from a channel, I think The Humble Trader.
Okay.
Like, do you feel like people plan per stock, or do they plan for their entire list? Or is it just like they plan for their setup?
I don't understand. Can you clarify what you're trying to say?
Like when people are making their plans in the morning, like say they want to just look at 6 stocks, they would have probably different plans for each one of those stocks, right?
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. So like in the morning, like let's say I'm looking at 2 stocks, maybe one I'm looking to short, one I'm looking to long. Then I will have a plan for both. And I would have a plan like in detail, like I'm longing this because big picture, there's an ascending triangle. There's also maybe it's approaching a daily breakout. When it breaks out, I'll be looking to buy on a dip, like that kind of a plan, right? And plans evolve too. So you need a plan, but then when the open happens, like things could have changed before the open where you might need to change your plan on the fly, like trade and change, you know, that's completely not what I'm saying. I'm saying like reevaluate, like, you know what, maybe this might be a short instead, and then try to take a step back and then make your new plan and then wait for it to trigger. You know, like in your plan has a trigger. Like your plan doesn't just say, I'm going to long because of this, but you're also going to say, I'm going to long when this happens. You know what I'm saying? Like you need a trigger to get into.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's just recently I've realized how big of a list I had. And I've been really trimming that down to almost actually just 2 or 3 a day. Yeah. And I think that's been substantially more helpful. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll have a list of like, no joke, like every day I'd say 10, 12 stocks that are on my watch list, but I'll have like 2 or 3 that are highlighted that I'm going to focus on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I'll ignore the other ones. But if for some reason I'll have alerts on the other ones, like if something alerts, then I'll go look at them. But other than that, I'm just like, I'll ignore them.
Yeah. Okay. That's essentially what I've been doing too.
If not, you're going to be like
all over the place.
Yeah. And you may miss all your trades. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Gotcha. Actually, I think what would be helpful, what does your daily regimen actually look like?
So every day I go to the gym or go running. It's one or the other in the morning at either 4:30 or 5:30, depending if I'm going to run. If I'm running, it's 5:30. If I go to the gym, it's 4:30. And then I just drink my coffee, have breakfast with my wife, or just talk to her for a little bit. Then I come to my office around 7:30 my time, which is 8:30 market time. And I sit down, look at my yesterday's watch list, and then see if I should pull any of those to today's watch list. And then I look at today's big percent gainers and losers, and I figure out which ones I want to put on my watch list. And then after I do that, then I look at each one of those, right, on the big picture. And I am drawing my important lines, resistance, support, and big picture ideas, right? And then intraday, then I go to each one intraday And I'm starting to look at it and like, okay, like sure, big picture, it looks bullish, but what does it look like intraday? And I want them to both line up, right? If they don't line up, if they're conflicting, I don't touch it. Gotcha. If they're lining up, then I'm going to touch it, right? So then I'll highlight the ones that line up, and then I'll write down specific plans for each one, right? And then at that moment, I'll just leave my watch list down because that only takes me like 7:30 to 8. So then that's 9 o'clock market time. So then I have 30 minutes. So then I'm just like going on YouTube, replying to people, emailing back. And then when 8:30 bell, right before the 8:30 bell, 9:30 bell hits, about 5 minutes before, I go back to my main watches. So it's 3, 2, maybe it's 1, maybe it's 5. Most of the time it's like 2 or 3. I go to those and look at them real quick. I'm like, okay, let me look at all of them. I'm like, are they still lining up with my plan, or does something weird happen, like an offering? That's weird, or major news and just rocket it. If that happens, then I might not even touch. I'm like, I need to reevaluate. If nothing happened, they all still look great, then I'm like, okay, cool. When the market opens, I know what I'm going to do.
Gotcha. And then are you still trading the whole day? Because I think you had a video.
No, okay. I unless I'm streaming live, I'll stay longer. But like if I'm not, like I'll trade until 11 my time, 12 market time. And really 11:30 market time. Like if I don't have a trade executed by 11:30 market time, I walk away.
I'm actually also in Dallas, so I know.
You are? Oh, shit. Okay, cool. I don't need to keep saying that. Okay, good. So if I don't have a trade executed by 10:30, I'm done. And then if I do have a trade, I'll stay till 11 and I won't get out of it, but I'll just watch it till 11. And then I'll put my stop, my profit target, and then walk away. And I'll either go have lunch, I'll read a book, I'll read there, I'll meditate. I don't meditate at that time. I'm studying Spanish. So I'll study Spanish. I'll do something, and then I'll come back at 12:30 our time and look at the market. And if anything's like, it has to literally slap me in the face. If it doesn't slap me in the face between 12:30 and 1 our time, then I'm done.
Gotcha.
Like if something slaps me in the face between 12:30 or 1:30, then I'll stay the rest of the day. If I'm in the trade, right? Until I get stopped out. But if it doesn't, then I'm done. I won't trade the rest of the day. I'll just close. And because I've found if I execute like later, the odds aren't good in my favor. So I'm just done.
Gotcha. Do you find yourself at this point still looking for technical learnings? Like, are you at night still watching like videos of like, did you used to? Okay,
so I'm definitely open to learning. Like that's like, so in 2020, right at the end of 2020, the last quarter, is when I started to look for new ways of trading.
Gotcha.
Okay, because I was already consistent for a whole year, right? So I was like, let me try some new things. And then that last quarter was fucking hell for me because I tried new things. It was like starting over, and it sucked, but I did it. And then I'm so glad I did it, because 2021, I wish it was much faster, but I had to spend all of this year really refining this new way. And now I have so many ways of trading. So like back in the day, all of 2019, 2020 was all short. That's all I did.
I think I remember it. You recently had a video where you said you only traded essentially like one setup.
2 setups, just 2. Yeah. It was the same. It was basically one, but it was 2 variations. And now I trade all types of trades, so, but I'm very selective. Like I'm super selective, where I only place like 1 to 2 trades a day max. Like, cause I'm waiting. Like my first trade today was until 10:30 market time. So that's 9:30 our time, which means I'm sitting there for an hour waiting for something to happen. Like I'll sit there all day. So, until my trigger, right? So, and if it doesn't happen, I don't trade. That's when I'm doing really well. If I'm not doing well and I'm being emotional, then I'm just going to, more than likely I break even or lose like 1R, because I've gotten really good at like risk management that I don't, please don't, it's like rare. I used to hit max loss like a long time ago. It was like max loss every other week. And then it became every month, just once a month. And then it became once a quarter. And now I can't remember. Like, because you get better and better, right? You get
That's
better and
awesome.
better of acknowledging things, acknowledging your behavior, acknowledging like, oh, I remember when I feel this way, I start to do things that I shouldn't do, like those kind of things. So
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha. Then do you still work at night, like related to the market, like in terms of like doing
oh no,
any research? Okay.
this is what I'm doing right now. The market's closed. As soon as we're done with this, I have another one
Yeah,
scheduled.
yeah, yeah.
After that's done, I'm literally going to go watch Venom, go that new Carnage movie with my
Nice.
buddy, have some drinks, chill. I won't look at charts until the next morning. Like I used to do that back in the day, but that's because I didn't know it worked for me. I didn't know what was good, what I was good at. Now, when I took that last quarter in 2020, I spent extra time because I was trying to figure out what works for me. How can I improve? Because I wanted to become a long bias trader. I was like, I'm tired of shorting. So I kept on analyzing things, trying things. And so, but when you already know what works for you, and if you're not trying to add something, right? Then for me, no, like now I don't. Like I'm done. Like I'm done. But what I am doing is I'm reviewing my trades, right? I'm reviewing my trades that I've taken, and I'm reviewing at the end of the week, and I'm trying to see how can I make those better. But I'm not. But that takes like an hour. You know what I'm saying? It once you do this like clockwork, it's not, and it's not boring to do. Like I enjoy it, but I don't spend hours like I used to watching courses, watching like it just doesn't happen anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that's just something I had in mind, like whether I was spending too much or not. I still don't think that I necessarily am, since it's still fairly new.
Yeah. How long have you been trading period? Like since the beginning?
Honestly, it's not that long. Since March.
Oh, dude. Yeah. You got, you better be studying every day, dude. You better be, dude. Hey, let me make it very clear.
Yeah.
I didn't get this way until like 3 years in. Like for the first 3 years, dude, I was 24/7.
Yeah.
And frustrated with myself because I'm like, I'm doing this every day. I suck, you know? Like, so like every day, all day. When the market closed, I was still looking at charts. I was looking at everything. I was constantly, okay. You're asking me that question for, 3 years, 3.5. Now I'm 4 years now, 4 years in. After hitting November would be 2 years of consistency. So like, it's just different now, but like still like your first 2.5, 3 years, you're going to be like, at least for me, everyone's different. Some people are way better than me and they're good in the first 6 months. They find consistency and they fucking go, but everyone has their own journey. Right. So I know some traders who took 10 years to find consistency, but guess what? You'd never know that. You'd be like, oh my God, you're freaking, and their 10 years looks like a little blimp on their P&L chart, because once you get it, like you're good. Like, so you just don't worry about the time, how long it takes you. So I wanted to make that clear to you because me 3 years, but don't put yourself in a box. It could be, but don't put a number. Don't even think about how long it's going to take you. Just think about every day I've seen focus on getting a little bit better and improving from yesterday. And write down your mistakes. Every mistake you do, this is huge, bro. Like, this changed my trading. Like every mistake you do every day, write it down. And then once you write it down, I need you to update it. Like keep a list for the month, right?
Yeah.
So today you made a mistake of oversizing. Let's just make this up. You made a mistake of oversizing and revenge trading. You write that down. Tomorrow, you didn't make no mistakes. Cool. The next day, you revenge traded. Tally. The next day, you traded out your setup. That's a brand new one. The next day, in the next week, you didn't trade your setup for 4 times. Tally. And then you keep that. The next month, your goal is to improve from that month. I want to make less mistakes. Yeah. And if you can do even better, you can divide it by weeks, but you want to have the whole month too. And that way, every week you can be like, all my goal is to focus on eliminating those mistakes. Dude, because if you know what to trade and you eliminate your mistakes, you're going to be profitable. There's no reason why you wouldn't be.
Right. That's huge. Do you do the same? Did you ever do the thing with like what you did well?
With what I did well?
Yeah.
I didn't tally that. No, but I talked to I talked to myself. I'll talk to myself and be like, Alex, what you did do well is you stuck to your plan. And the show helped me do that. Because the reason I started the show is to share as I got consistent, like
Yeah.
and to have something to talk about, and I was talking to them about my experiences, and to help me acknowledge, like, I'm doing well right now because I'm sticking to my plan. Losses happen, like, yes, but I write it down.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
it doesn't hurt. I'm sure it doesn't hurt,
Yeah. No, that's actually, that one's very helpful.
The
That's
mistakes one though is going to change. You'll message me after a month and be like, number one, you'll be shocked about how many mistakes you actually make.
Yep.
And how often you make them. And then number two, like for me, when I started doing that, and I did this when I was consistent. And I hit a rough patch. So I was like, you know what? Let me try to do this. So I started doing that. And then I was like, damn, I'm making a lot of mistakes. And then I was like, let me just make less than last month. And I did way better. And then I said, let me do less than last month. Did way better. It's like, it's crazy how much better you do when you focus on eliminating what you're not good at. And then you start to recognize one of them will stand out. One of them will stand out where it's like, I made this one 10 times this month and everything else was just once. So then you can just focus on that one, because that's the one that's probably really destroying your trading. You know what I'm saying? And then you can know how to improve drastically.
Yeah. This is awesome, because it gets me almost so excited.
Yeah. And it makes you feel good about tracking. You're not getting upset with making mistakes. You're like, okay, I know what I need to work on. Yep.
Because prior to that, there was nothing that was a measurement except for your P&L.
And that's why, and hide your P&L, bro.
Yeah.
Don't look at it. Don't upload it until I challenge you till a month. If you can't do that, do a week. But I guarantee you, when I did this, first I did a week, and my friends are like, dude, what are you talking about? You don't look at your P&L? Because I did this before I was starting to talk about it. I was like, yeah, I'm not looking at it. They're like, what did you make? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, what do you mean you don't know? I was like, I don't know. And they're like, well, you have an idea. I was like, sure, I know if I'm maybe up or down, but I'm not going to tell you. I don't care. And then after a week, I'll look at it and I was like, oh shit. Like, it could be good or bad. I don't know. But I'm just saying, more times than not, for me at that time, it was really good. Or I was surprised. Like, I thought I did really bad. Like, I was like, fuck, I just feel like I'm not looking forward to uploading. And then I ended up having like a baby green week. And I'm like, wow.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But if I would have looked at my P&L every day, feeling the way I felt, I might have traded like shit. And then have a bad week, maybe a month. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you separate yourself from that, dude, you'll be amazed of how you trade. You'll start to trade like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's an execution game, not a P&L game.
Yeah.
That's how you will focus on. And you'll just focus on, did I trade well? Did I trade my setups? Did I stick to my plan? That's all I need to focus on. That's it. Not the end of the day, not the result, because the results are random. They're totally random. And so I'm telling you, if you do both of those things, oh, dude, you'll change. I don't know how good you'll change, but I know you will change. And you'll be like, Alex, bro, thank you. And I'm like, you're welcome. I know.
Okay, then last topic, especially since you have had experience in this, is where you traded and then you went back to work.
Yeah.
When that happened, because like, just in case, like, did you think about that as a fallback? Because some people tell me, like, don't even think about it. Like, don't think of it as a choice.
Yeah. Well, those people who are telling you that, did they fucking do it?
they're not trading.
Exactly. Yeah. And
they're full-time workers.
So. Exactly. So like, all these people who give advice about that kind of shit, like, they don't even do it. So I'm like, for me, I'll just tell you this. Good luck not thinking about it. Okay. Good luck. I mean, for me, the first time I left 3 times, dude. The first time I left, it was the hardest year of my, like, probably my life in terms of self-development and like career wise. Right.
Yeah.
I definitely was depressed for some time, for like maybe a week. Like now I'm I'm very go-lucky, happy person. Everyone that knows me personally, they'll be like, dude, that guy's never sad. But for a week, which is a long time for me, I was just miserable, dude. Like, I've never felt this way ever in my life. And I can say that I think I was depressed because I was like crying. I was beating myself up in so many ways. I didn't even want to get out of bed. I didn't want to go anywhere. It was bad. And then, so many days I was like, you're an idiot. Why'd you leave your job? Why'd you do this? Blah, blah, blah. So I thought about it a lot. Yeah. And I was like, well, I know I could probably go back to the industry because I had a great career. I was well known in the industry. So I was like, I can easily get a job. So nothing to worry about. But so, I mean, I did think about it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't know, but I know I did think about it. Even the second time when I left, I was like, you know what? No big deal. I can get a job. I did it once. I can get a job again. So, and I failed again. That second time, I just broke even. So I was happy with that. But then I went back to work and so I can't say, I can just tell you that I did think about it. I don't know if it was good. I just know I did think about it because it was hard not to. It really is, because like I left everything. I left it all, you know, like it's hard to go from making what you think is really good money to zero and losing, you know, like it's like most men, maybe not, but for sure me, I judge myself over what I made. And I've learned not to do that anymore. And I'm still getting back. I mean, ego's still there. So I'm always trying to push that back. But like that crushed me because you go from making something to making nothing. So it's like, and I was married, like, it's just, you know, so like, just know, like, it's tough, man. And you're not alone. I've been there, and it's okay to go back. It's totally okay. Because if it wasn't, I mean, that makes no sense. It's okay. It's totally okay to go back. Gotcha. And it's okay to trade while you work. I just made a choice, you know, I just made choices. Some choices, I don't regret it, but I think about it. Like if I could go back, I tell myself that I probably would have never left and probably would just swing trade, because I didn't know about swing trading. I was so naive. I was so naive. All I knew was day trading. That's all I was shown. And so that's all I did. So I say that, but but now at the end of the day, like I'm happy where I'm at. So like, I don't, you know, it's just like one of those things.
You never know if your focus would have been fully on trading. Like
exactly.
Same. Yeah.
Like how much would I really have studied if I was just swing trading? I don't know. Maybe a lot, maybe a not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I've learned a lot, even though it hasn't been the smoothest journey. Of course, it's early on.
Yeah.
I had a question, but I think it blinked out there.
You only been going for 6 months, bro. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. Dude, I'm a baby in the industry. That makes you're not even conceived yet. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm talking, like guys I talk on my show, dude, they're all trading for like 10 plus years, like Nate, 18 years. Scott, 30 or 40 years. Like these guys are Cody, 10 years. Like a lot of them, a long time. Wow. And a lot of them, it took about 3 to 4 to 5 years to get consistent.
Kind of seems like the average time frame.
Those guys who just every once in a while, it makes us feel like they're everywhere, but they're really not. There's only a couple of them, and it's super rare. It's like super rare. Like it's so rare. And you know, like we can't, I used to compare myself to that, and which is why it probably took me so long.
Yeah. I think the mental fortitude too, to go through like 3 to 5 years is really strong. I constantly compare it to like someone starting a business, and to say, like, I always think back to Matt Diamond, where he was talking about, he was just staring at charts every single day as soon as he woke up, and he realized that maybe he wasn't even working the smartest, but he just did it. And then to do it consistently not have profits to show for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, because everything else in business, it is a business. This is 100% entrepreneurship. But the problem is people don't see it that way. They don't see it as a profession. So because in a business, if you open up a restaurant, if you open up any business, you have expenses.
Yeah.
And you got to hire people. You got to do whatever. You got to pay for software. You got to pay for whatever it is. And those are expenses out before you have income coming in. It's trading the same thing. You're losing is your expenses every time. That's why you want to lower those expenses. Exactly. So that way, every day you lose, it's nothing.
Yeah. And
that way, whenever you find consistency, like for example, there's a guy I talked to, he has a nest egg of like a big chunk of money. Gotcha. And he's like, should I trade with that? And I'm like, hell no. I was like, you should trade with like maybe $5,000, $10,000 and only risk $100. No, sorry. Risk like $10 to make 30. He's like, what? He's like, I'm not going to make any money. I was like, you see what you're thinking? I was like, you're going to blow up if you think like that. I was like, you need to think about consistency and be consistent and then add it up over time. And then when you are really confident, you can start to add money to your account because you have the money. Just take your time. But if you add it like I did, like I was an idiot, dude. When I started out, I had a great job. I had a lot of money on the side and I blew it quick. Like not all of it, but I blew big chunks right on my first, I think 2 or 3 trades. I think I talk about this. It was like $6,000 in like 2-3 minutes. Who the hell is comfortable losing $6,000 in 2 to 3 minutes? At the time, I was like, it sucks, but I'll just, load it back up. Not a big deal. But like, that was so stupid of me. That was so dumb. Like I could have just lost $60 if I was doing the whole thing I'm telling people to do. So that way you don't have PTSD of trading because that shit sucks. Like that shit was hard for me to get over. Like, so just know, like, take it slow.
I think overconfidence is key. And I think now, like, I'm really needing to size down because I mean, we talk about ours, but like, I'm open about it where I'll have like negative $1,000 days and that's not okay. And I think the number one reason is I always want to make back what I've like lost the prior days. And the only way to do it is with a large sizing, but then you end up losing more. And so I've read it over and over again, but I think one of the biggest things I'm going to write down is consistency and the need to stay in the game.
Yeah. And one thing I'm going to leave you with is this. I wrote this down a while back. I want to read it to you. It's money. And it's so simple. I don't know where I got it from, but it's a quote that says, I need to be better with what I have left than what I have lost. That's what you need to focus on. So like, and have a short-term memory. Like, don't worry about what you lost. Because if you worry about that, you'll never be happy when you're doing well because you're trading small like a smart person, right? So you won't, because you'll always be like, oh, but I lost 20 grand and now only made $100 for the month, but I only risk $1 to make 3. Like, that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you're not happy. Like, no. Be good, be the best that you can be with what you have left and just continue to go from there. Because if you can focus like that, dude, that'll just be a blimp in the future. Like, don't even worry about that because that's gone. It's never coming back. Even every money that you make moving forward is not that money. It's new money. So like, don't worry about that shit.
Gotcha. No, that's super helpful, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, downsize, write your mistakes, and meditate.
Headspace.
Stuff. Yeah. But look, man, I appreciate it, brother. I really do.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alex. You have a good one.
You too.